This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Dipstick Vapes, makers of the category-defining Dipper, the vaporizer that allows you to use it as either a traditional vape pen or as a heated ceramic tip that you can vape your favorite concentrates and extracts with, like some kind of techno-cannabis hummingbird. It's a super cool device that's both stylish and hugely functional. To learn more about the Dipper and to save 15% off the price of buying one yourself, head over to dipstickvapes.com and use the discount code MJ today. That's dipstickvapes.com, discount code MJ today. And when you use that discount code, Dipstick Vapes will make a donation in the amount of money that you saved to our friends over at Students for Sensible Drug Policy. Talk about win, win, win. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, June 12th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 509 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is the news of a new coalition of mayors from 7 U.S. cities that have formed around the push for progressive marijuana policy reform at the federal level. Yesterday, during a meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors held in Boston, mayors from Portland, Oregon, Denver, San Francisco, Los Angeles, West Sacramento, and Las Vegas sponsored a resolution calling on the federal government to remove cannabis from the list of controlled substances, to free up businesses to engage in regular banking practices, and to expand access to medical marijuana for military veterans. The resolution was accepted by the larger gathering, which means that next year the U.S. Conferences of Mayors will include marijuana in its list of issues it creates federal policy recommendations for. Alicia Wallace over at the Denver Post has a good story up about the maturation of Colorado's legal marijuana industry, as evidenced by recently released sales figures for the month of April. According to the newly released numbers, legal cannabis sales in Colorado for April were just about the same as they were for the same month last year, at right around $125 million. This slowing growth has generally been expected as the newness of the industry wears off and the market settles into maturity after adult use sales started up in 2014. One trend that has continued in the last year is the retreat of the medical sector, as the total sales made to medical patients fell 29% this year to just $27 million. While the sales patterns that have popped up in Colorado won't replicate themselves exactly in other states, there still is a lot to learn for anyone looking to understand how their own state's market will evolve. And Colorado is also the only place in the world with 3 years of fully legal adult use sales data to look at. Our final top story today swings us out over the Atlantic Ocean to the United Kingdom, where yesterday British customs officials seized a bottle of CBD medical cannabis oil from Charlotte Caldwell, the mother of 12-year-old Billy Caldwell, who lives with a form of epilepsy that can cause up to 100 seizures per day. Ms. Caldwell said that when treated with CBD oil, that number falls to 0 seizures per day. Last year, Billy was approved by his doctors to start using CBD oil and shortly thereafter stopped having seizures. Recently, that decision was rescinded, moving Ms. Caldwell to announce a trip to Canada where she intended to buy CBD oil to return with for treating Billy. That just happened, and yesterday UK customs officials seized the CBD oil from the Caldwell family as they returned from their trip to Canada. This is a detail-rich story that I'd also pop open for the full read. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, dipstickvapes.com, makers of the innovative Dipper vaporizer. If you have a store or dispensary, you need to be carrying the Dipper on your shelves. Here's why. The Dipper sets itself apart from all its competition thanks to the highly useful multiple functions it's capable of performing. It's an easy sell to your customers because it's super easy to understand as a buyer why the Dipper is such a great buy. Of course, you're going to spend your money on a vaporizer that lets you do more than just pack and go. If you could benefit from the bottom line boosting sales of the Dipper, swing over to dipstickvapes.com and get in touch about becoming a reseller. And don't forget, if you just want to buy a Dipper for yourself, use the discount code MJ today at dipstickvapes.com to save 15% off the already affordable price and to generate a donation in the same amount to our friends over at Students for Sensible Drug Policy. All right, time for the Blitz. Leafly takes a good look at how Maryland's medical marijuana system is doing 6 months after springing to life. While prices for cannabis flower have fallen from the scarce and expensive opening days, there are still reported shortages and high prices in products like concentrates. This is a long-running, convoluted, and detail-rich story that's best read in full. Marijuana Business Daily's chart of the week projects the legal marijuana sales fortunes of 7 U.S. states with soon-to-launch marijuana markets, adult use or medical, over the next few years. First up is Massachusetts, where a new adult use market is expected to generate anywhere from $700 million to $1 billion in sales starting next month. A shorter line on the chart shows the $10 to $15 million in sales expected to be rung up in West Virginia's medical market, which is set to open next July. Another good one to open up for the scan and all the accompanying background detail and context. The state of Arkansas has been struggling to get their nascent medical marijuana program up and off the ground, with the latest roadblock popping up in the form of a lawsuit over the process by which state officials used to select the winners of the first medical business licenses given out. The storyline has only gotten juicier from there and now includes allegations of bribery and corruption and nepotism, all of which you can read for yourself over in a piece by the Associated Press over at marijuana.com. Drug testing and employment law is an ever-dynamic part of the cannabis legalization process, and the Boston Globe took a good look at how the issue is changing as different states embrace more progressive marijuana laws. There are a lot of angles on this one, with both medical marijuana users as well as strictly adult use consumers making perfectly valid arguments over why it's none of their employer's business what they choose to use outside of work hours. The legal situation isn't super clear in every state, which is driving some companies to forego testing for cannabis entirely so as to avoid any potential lawsuits. It's also just becoming harder and harder these days to find people who can pass marijuana drug tests, which can pick up cannabis consumed days and even weeks before. Another hazy realm in the legal marijuana industry is in the world of analytical testing, as Alaska's legal cannabis industry is experiencing firsthand. A new report recently released by the state found that posted results from the testing of a number of identical marijuana products sent for analysis to two companies, CanTest and Steep Hill, were wildly divergent. And given that there were only 2 sets of data for each product, the state was unable to draw any kind of inferences about which of the results was most likely to be accurate. Steep Hill has since shut down their Alaska operations. The state will now take time to consider the report's recommendations, which includes the main suggestion that testing labs be mandated to develop standardized quality assurance programs to ensure the validity of their results. And finally for today, New Cannabis Ventures is reporting that California-based cannabis media company Prohibited just closed on $12 million in funding, including an $8 million Series A round. The company says it's also working on plans to go public on a Canadian market and will use the proceeds of the just announced round to build out their content creation capabilities and network reach. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at MJ Today Daily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Dipstick Vapes, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.